Good evening. The Prime Minister threw down the gauntlet today to the Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich over the £2.5 billion he pledged for victims of the Ukraine war. He said Mr Abramovich must pay up now or face legal action. The clock is ticking, he said. The former owner of Chelsea Football Club agreed in 2022 that money from the sale of the club would be used to benefit victims of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But the money has remained frozen in a British bank account.
I can announce that we're issuing a licence to transfer £2.5 billion from the sale of Chelsea Football Club. That's been frozen, those funds, since 2022. My message to Abramovich is this: the clock is ticking. Honour the commitment that you made and pay up now. And if you don't, we're prepared to go to court so every penny reaches those whose lives have been torn apart by Putin's illegal war.
Our sports correspondent Rob Harris is here with me. So give us the background to this. What's happened to the money and to Abramovich's promise?
Well, he was forced to sell up by the government, then Conservative government, at the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, when Abramovich was sanctioned over his alleged links to Vladimir Putin. And at the time, Abramovich insisted that the proceeds, the sale, all of the proceeds would go to help all victims of the war in Ukraine. But at the heart of that is where some of the disconnect and the dispute is. Right, and
you mean in terms of which victims benefit? But I mean, the money is there. We know the money's there, do we?
Well, there is some difference of opinion in terms of the money. So the government today said all £2.5 billion should be released. We do now have very recently published accounts from Chelsea's former parent company, and they actually say that there's £2.35 billion. And also it says that there are £1.5 billion of loans that are to be repaid to Abramovich, and that could leave potentially only £923 million. And while he did say in 2022, I will not be asking for any loans to be repaid, well, these recent accounts do say that the intention is to gift the net proceeds of the sale to this charity foundation after allowing for other balance sheet items to be paid. So we do wait to see what exactly that means, and we haven't heard from Abramovich himself.
OK, we'll wait on that, Rob. Thank you very much indeed. And Sky's political editor Beth Rigby has been speaking to the Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper about this.
Foreign Secretary, you say it's time for Roman Abramovich to pay up. Why now?
Well, he's had 3 years. It's 3 years since the commitment was made that the proceeds of the Chelsea sale would go into humanitarian support in Ukraine. He hasn't taken those steps, and that's why we're now issuing this licence and saying that if he doesn't now take those steps, move that money, then we will need to go to court.
But is it because you think that the war could be coming to an end? Is it to prevent him claiming ownership of the cash again if a ceasefire comes into effect? Is there a kind of a rush to do this at this point? Because it seems a bit random otherwise.
That is the result of there's been a huge amount of work and attempts and different efforts at different times to get Roman Abramovich to honour the commitment he made and to do the things that he is supposed to do as a result of the agreement that was signed at that time. That has been tried in different ways through the years, and it's still come to nothing. That's why we're doing the licence. So no, it's not linked to the timing of the work that's underway on the peace process. It's linked to the fact that we've just reached that point. We have tried every possible avenue to get him to do the right thing, and now we are taking this action with the licence.
And Foreign Secretary, you're threatening to take him to court if he doesn't surrender the funds himself. What sort of punishment would you be pushing for if he doesn't comply? What are the consequences for him?
Well, the licence runs, and we are now urging him to honour this licence, to honour the commitments that were made, and to give him a few months in which to do so. If he doesn't, we will then go to court to require that payment to be made. Because, look, this is money that is supposed to go for humanitarian support, for people in Ukraine, maybe for veterans, maybe for children who need support. This is the right thing to do.
The government's determined £2.5 billion goes to Ukraine, but recent accounts indicate Abramovich wants £1.5 billion of that to pay off loans and debts, leaving only £1 billion for Ukraine. Is that acceptable to you?
No, it's clear that there was 2.5 billion worth of proceeds from the sale of the Chelsea Football Club. That was the commitment that was made as part of the agreement at that time, and that is the money that needs to go into the humanitarian support.
And can he control where the money goes? Because he actually wants it also to benefit all victims of war, and that includes Russians, it would seem. Would you be OK with that?
We've been very clear that the proceeds from the Chelsea sale, the money that is there, that needs to go into humanitarian support in Ukraine. It's the Ukrainian people who have suffered as a result of Putin's aggression, as a result of this war, and that is where this funding needs to go. Okay. And so the charitable fund that this funding money needs to go into will be covered by the terms of the licence, and that's where the money must go.
Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary there, Rob, is still with me. So she's clear humanitarian support in Ukraine, so we'll see what happens about that. What do we know of Roman Abramovich at the moment?
Well, he's not said much since the war began. He's not condemned the war, he's not supported the war. It would bring risks, obviously, in Russia to speak in such a way. He has been linked with peace talks along the way, but not really since 2022. So we've not heard back from his last named lawyers when we've asked them today. And it was obviously not unusual for him to stay quiet. He did largely throughout his 19 years owning Chelsea when he really transformed the club. The first major foreign owners come in and pump so much money in to win every major trophy. And this is a story beyond a former football club owner as well. It is in part about what happens to sanctioned individuals, what happens to those frozen assets, if indeed there is a peace deal, if the war ends. And the government needs this approval of Abramovich because they had to issue a licence to get the sale approved initially, and it does need his approval, perhaps to avoid legal consequence down the line if the government were just to release the funds without him officially signing off on it, because he has pursued action elsewhere. But we wait to see now just what Abramovich will say, as the government is threatening legal action yet again.